Good morning, girls.
Good morning, Miss Tiger.
We don't really have to be that formal, I don't
Let's
think.
not
but,
say that.
This morning we're going to start in chapter 3, and we're going to be continuing on what we've already talked about just a little bit about assessing children. We're going to talk about the different kinds of assessment, and then we're going to go over the guidelines, and then we're going to watch a little clip, and then I'm going to actually pass some things out for you to actually do an anecdotal record on a child. So, are you in chapter 3 for your books?
Yes.
Okay. The first thing we're going to talk about on the PowerPoint also is what assessment is. Do you guys remember about us talking about assessment before in chapter 2? Okay, and the reasons we do assessments. We use them a lot in parent-teacher conferences, but mainly just to see how the children are developing and if they're on track in their development. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, there's several different kinds of assessments. And in early childhood programs, I think it depends on what type of program, but there's several different kinds. We're just going to mainly talk about 4 different kinds: the anecdotal records, checklists, participation charts, and rating scales. Can anybody tell me what an anecdotal record does?
It's the one that uses more information.
Right, and it's not you don't put your opinion in it. You put yourself in a classroom and try to be you don't want the children to really notice you're in there, and you need to just be like a video camera watching these children. You write down everything you see, but you don't form an opinion because we're not trained to make those kind of opinions. It's the easiest one, and I think it shows the growth and development, is better than any of the rest of them. It says they must be objective. The behavior must be interpreted, but not by us. So, anyway, and then some of the disadvantages, sometimes it gives an incomplete picture, but I think this is probably the best one that we do. So the next one that we are going to look at is checklists. The advantages of a checklist is that it can be quickly recorded, but what it mainly does is, like it says in the PowerPoint, it's the presence or the absence of a specific trait or behavior. And sometimes it doesn't give very much information, but we still use them sometimes. So the next one is participation charts. Have y'all ever done one of these on a child? It shows okay. It shows the child's preferences, and as this says, it sometimes they may not match the child's needs, which means whatever they're doing may not be age appropriate, but even though they like to do it, we don't let them sometimes. And the last one we're looking at is the rating scale. And the rating scale shows the degree to which a quality or trait is present. All of these have advantages and disadvantages, but the one we're going to be using today is the anecdotal record. Now, we've talked about it before, about a portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
What do we put into a portfolio?
Information,
Like their
And it shows the child's growth and development over a period of time. It shows work samples of art projects. And then if you have parent-teacher conferences, those are in there. I mean, it's just a whole group of things for the children to be assessed, and that's the main purpose of it. But it has to be done over a period of time, so like a school year. So anyway, now then, the last thing we want to talk about before we actually do one, watch the little clip, is the guidelines. We have specific things. When we look at young children, we have specific things we look at, but we also have specific guidelines to go by. Probably one of the most important things is that you don't talk about what this child is doing to anybody else outside the center. Everything we do is confidential. That's why it's so important that when you write these things, you don't put their names in there. And because it's against the law for one thing to do that. So you have to be careful about keeping everything that happens here confidential. It's okay to share observations with the class, but outside the classroom, we need to really keep it to ourselves. So, and this also lists remove items that may be distracting. And sometimes we have a hard time doing this. Avoid talking to the children, other observers, and staff. When you're in a classroom with a lot of kids, it's hard not to pay attention to all of them. But if you're in there doing one of these, your specific job is to just pay attention to that child. And so you need to kind of block everything else out. So we're going to watch a little clip, and then I'm going to pass these out, and I want you to actually do an anecdotal assessment on these children. And this isn't a very long little clip. Let me pass these out. So you can kind of know what you're looking for.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Keep trying, it's okay. Good job. He found a dish.
These kids are.
Animal fence. Yeah. Very big tower.
I figured the little boy would knock it down. Little girl is washing. No, I'm kidding. Okay. That's kind of your opinion. Pardon me?
Would it be fine with
Both. She's not losing much growth, but he is. play is different than a smaller child. They interact together, where if you notice smaller kids, they're usually, they're not working together or playing together.
Heavy, very heavy.
I did it!
Good job.
Notice how important it is to him that he stack those blocks. That's pretty good for his age.
She's trying so hard. Just getting really frustrated.
I'm really proud of that accomplishment.
Good job.
Okay, did y'all write?
Yes.
What do you, on the areas of development that you checked off, which ones do you think they were doing?
Gross motor, fine motor,
Social
social
language, social
language,
development.
emotional.
All of them, really.
Yeah.
And kids that age really will show all of those areas of development. But are you guys through writing? Okay. The next time we meet, we will go into more of the collecting of this data over a period of time, and we will go on into talking about portfolios and how you assemble those, and some of the guidelines as to what you can and cannot do in a portfolio. So if y'all will take up the papers, and then y'all are free to go.